so hard. So I just left the room, my mom's hospital room. She's not doing so well at all. She's in a lot of pain. There's nothing more they can do for her. She's just really in a lot of pain and suffering. They just gave her some fentanyl to kind of make her more comfortable, but it's just so hard watching someone you love like just slowly decline and like just be in the hospital bed just like dying, and it's just terrible. I just don't wish this on my worst enemy. And she's still with it enough, like she knows what's going on, and you know, she's able to have conversations with me, so it's not like she's completely incoherent and doesn't know what's going on. And that's like the hardest part. You know, we had to have a really hard meeting yesterday with the hospice type people, palliative care they call it, and it was a couple doctors and myself and my mom there, and we had to talk about, you know, her end of life wishes and what she wants, and all she said is she wants to go home, and I can't bring her home because she needs more care than I can give her. It's just myself, and they don't provide 24-hour nursing care. If a patient comes home, I can't do it all alone as much as I'd love to. So that's like her only wish, is to go home, and she can't go, and that's absolutely heartbreaking for me as her daughter. I just want her to be comfortable and be in a place that she loves, and you know, who doesn't want to be at home. They're going to move her to a rehab facility today. I don't know why they're sending her rehab. She's never going to be able to get stronger. You know, she's just declining so rapidly. But that was the plan today, but they're still waiting for insurance approval. And then they said they're going to move her from the step-down unit to another part of the cardiac floor. Apparently they need a bed for somebody else. But then she, you know, I got there to see her. She called me earlier today and said she wasn't feeling well at all, that she was feeling terrible, and that her shoulder was hurting. But when I got there later on this afternoon, she was in a lot of pain. She was moaning, and they tried to, you know, reposition her, and she was, you know, screaming out in pain. So I got the doctor and had them come in. They did an EKG, and that actually looked okay. It didn't look any different than the one she had previously. So they don't think it's her heart. They think maybe muscular, or possibly the one kidney that she has, because the kidney is in pretty rough shape. So, you know, they gave her the fentanyl. Earlier in the day, I guess they gave her Tylenol and like a lidocaine patch, which did absolutely nothing for her. So thankfully I was there and I could talk for her and, you know, demand something stronger than just Tylenol. But like, I just always feel so bad leaving, because I have to go home and I have things I have to do in my own life, you know, with my kids and stuff. I just feel so guilty, like leaving her there. Like, she's all alone. Granted, she has the nurses and stuff, but she, you know, they gave her fentanyl, she fell asleep. She was like in a deep sleep, and they said she'd probably be out for a while. And like a half an hour later, I just quietly was ready to, you know, leave, and was going to try to leave the room. And she woke up and she started talking to me, and she's like, "Oh, Becky, you're still here." I said, "Yes, Mom." I said, "Just go back to sleep." Sorry, this is so hard. I said, "Just go back to sleep. I'm right here. Everything's gonna be okay." So she said, "Okay," and she fell back to sleep. So I stayed for like 45 minutes longer. Her dinner came, and I just had the nurses put in the fridge, because she probably won't be up to eating anything today. But then I know eventually I have to go home, and I feel like I'm like abandoning her or something. It's terrible. And I just want to stay with her as long as I can, but I can't. Like, you know, I have other things I have to take care of at home. So that's the update for today. 2 days ago, she actually had an okay day. She was sitting up in the chair for a while that day, and what did she have for dinner? I don't know. She ate a big dinner, and we were watching a little TV. I mean, she was by no means well, but she was well enough to want to sit in a chair for most of the day, which is great. And then yesterday was a bad day, and today is an even worse day. So I don't know. She's really hesitant. Like, she does not want to go to the rehab facility. That's been her, like, biggest thing during this whole past year. With all these medical issues, she does not want to go to rehab. Those places are just awful, but, you know, I just can't bring her home to her house, and definitely not to my house. I live on a third floor in an apartment building. So it's just so hard. This end of life stuff is, like, absolutely gut-wrenching. And I really have nobody to go through with. I mean, I have my kids, you know, my daughter and my son, as I mentioned in the previous video, but I just have no other support, really, which makes it even harder. I just want somebody to give me a hug, you know, but you go through these hard times and you just have to stay strong. And, you know, there is hopefully better times ahead. I just don't want to see my mom suffer. That's the hardest part. Like, it's hard enough to lose somebody and have someone pass, but to watch it happen slowly, there's no greater pain than that. You know, my dad went quickly. His whole event, you know, was a matter of 2 weeks, and it just happened so fast. And, you know, as awful as that was, sometimes that's better that way, you know. And this is just awful. I just can't even put it into words. So if you're going through something similar, or if you've been through something similar, you know, I feel for you. It's just, I don't even know what to say. It's just so hard. Unless you've been through it, you can't really even put it into words, or you can't feel someone else's pain, you know, unless you've lived it yourself. But this is a whole new level, you know. Like I said, my dad was only 66 when he passed. He stopped breathing at home. My mom started CPR. The medics came. My dad was in a cold coma for a few days. Neurology came to see him and said he will never come out of the coma. If he does, he'll be a vegetable. And my mother and I had to have difficult discussions with the doctors pertaining to that, you know, as far as taking him off life support. My mother and I decided not to do that. We gave it some more time, and my dad actually came out of the coma, came off of life support. He didn't have any brain damage. It was actually a real, you know, it was a miracle that he came out of that and was okay. He did have 3 clogged arteries, which is what led to his, you know, his heart attack, or his, you know, becoming unconscious. So they were going to schedule him to do a triple bypass. He was in the step-down unit, which is actually, my mom is 1 room over from where he was 12 years ago. My dad was in the same hospital, same floor, 1 room over. So that's been really hard to, like, relive all that. You know, I told my mom I'd never send her here after what happened to my dad. And now she's here. But I need to have her close because I need to travel back and forth. So going to Boston would just be too hard. And they've been great here. They've been really good so far. So I'm thankful for that. But, you know, my dad, he was on the step-down unit, and they were going to transfer him to the regular floor. I said I didn't feel he was ready to go there, and they sent him there, and I went home to check on the kids. I wasn't even home for an hour. My mom called and said, something's not right with Daddy. He's just not right. He's not acting right. So I rushed back to the hospital, and he was in septic shock, and he ended up coding 3 times, and then ended up back on the ICU. And at that point, his organs just started shutting down, and he passed a few days later. So that was brutal, you know, to go through, and I thought that was the hardest thing I'd ever have to go through. But I can say this is even worse than that, because that would just happen so fast. You didn't even have time to process it, you know. But this is a slow, drawn-out, painful, awful thing, and my heart goes out to anyone that's lived this. I don't wish this on anyone, but unfortunately, we all have to go through losing parents, you know. It's just so hard. Like, I don't want my mom to die, you know. So yesterday, you know, we had the palliative care talk. They just asked such awful questions. Like, they have to ask them, but they're just so heavy. You know, final wishes, any regrets that you had, like, you know, how you want it to be when you go. Like, do you want to be in no pain? Do you want to be, you know, to go peacefully? Where do you want to be when you die? Like, super heavy stuff. My mom's so strong. But she kept saying, Sorry, this is so hard. She kept saying that she had such a good life. And that I'm such a good daughter. And she's, thankful for me. And I'm glad that she feels she had a great life. And then she also said that, he said, "What's your hope?" And she just said, "I hope I can live as long as I can and be pain-free." And she doesn't want to die. She just wants to live longer, and see her grandkids, see me, just live life longer, and, it's out of our hands. And then that's what she did say. She goes, "When it's my time, it's my time. There's nothing you can do about it." So she knows what's to come, she's prepared. She said, "Sometimes I'm sad, other times I'm not." She did have a good life, but it's just awful. And she said, "I'm 80, I can't expect to live forever," but she's not ready to go, but her body is. Her mind's not ready to go. Her soul's not ready to go, but her body is just completely shutting down on her. It's just awful. Yeah, so it's so hard. I'm not sure if I'll ever post these videos or if I'm just going to make this for my own record of what I've been through in this process. I'm just sitting in the parking garage. And I have Jasper. Where's Jasper? My doggy. There's my doggy. He came with me for a ride. It's just so hard, and then all the logistics of everything, And she said, "I'm sorry, I never paid off my full mortgage, and I'm sorry the spare bedroom's messy," those silly little things that don't matter. I'm like, "It's okay, I don't care." But any of that, I don't care about any of that. And then I feel regretful. I have regrets. I wish I spent more time with her. I wish I went over and stayed with her a couple, once every so often and slept at her house and watched movies with her or something. It seems like ever since my dad died, which has been 12 years now, but a piece of her died with him that day. And it's been hard for her not having him. And then, life gets busy, and I was busy doing my thing and with my family and my kids, and that's my, it's gonna be one of my biggest regrets, I think, is just not spending enough time with her, just being too busy. I would go over and take her grocery shopping, and would go to the craft store. She likes Michael's, and would get some yarn. She loves to crochet, and, would spend time like that, but I just felt like I'm always rushing to go home, rushing here, rushing there, and I just wish I spent more time just when she was healthy, I did when she was healthy and younger. I was over there all the time with the kids, and when my dad was alive, we were, constantly having Sunday dinners and things like that. And she kind of pulled away too after my dad died. She didn't do as much, and then COVID happened, and that made things a lot different too. But I have that regret. I wish I could go back and have her be healthy and just go hang out and watch one of her favorite movies is Dirty Dancing. I wish we could just have a girls' night and watch Dirty Dancing together, and but unfortunately those days are gone. So if you still have your parents or a parent or loved ones, spend as much time as you can. It's like that song, I think it's by Tim McGraw. I don't know, one of those songs where it says, maybe it's not Tim McGraw, I don't know, it just basically says I don't have time, I don't have time, and then you wish you had the time with them. So anyway, that's today's update. I think today is March 25th, 2026. I don't know, they're gonna hopefully let me know what the plan is as far as moving her to a different bed on the cardiac floor. And I don't know, she doesn't want to go to rehab, but she kind of has to go there. I don't know, it's just awful, but I'll let you know what happens. Please continue to pray for us. Pray for me to have the strength. I'm usually a super strong person. I'm doing my best to hold this together. That's why I'm sitting in a parking garage crying. I don't want to cry in front of my mom. I cried a little bit yesterday when we were having the palliative care talk, and she said, "Oh, Becky, don't cry." She said, Oh, Becky, don't cry. That maybe I felt bad. I didn't want to be like weak in front of her or make her feel scared, you know? So I'm trying to hold it together in front of her and trying to be strong and, you know, say I'm there with you, Mom, and things are gonna be okay. So hard. But anyway, thank you for listening. I'm sorry about all the tears, but this is real life, and you know, if even just talking about it can help one more person, you know, I feel so alone right now going through this. Again, like I have, you know, my extended family, I have my kids, but like unless you have a partner or a close friend or someone, it's hard to go through this alone, and I basically am. So these videos help, you know, help someone if you're watching this and you feel all alone too, going through a crisis or a family, you know, emergency or any hard times in life, then, you know, I hope I'm able to help you. You're not alone. You know, there are people out here that care, and, you know, you can reach out to people, even strangers. Like sometimes you just start talking to someone and they're exactly what you need in that moment. Even if it's just a 5-minute conversation, you know, you realize that there's so much good in the world still, and good people. And, yeah, so I'll update you guys again later or tomorrow, but thank you for watching, and yeah, life is hard, but I love my mom. She's a wonderful woman, and I just pray that her transition from this world is a peaceful one and a painless one. That's what she deserves. One thing I still struggle with is that my mom wanted to go home and I wasn't able to make that happen. I still feel so guilty, and I probably always will. But looking back, I truly believe the hospital was probably the best place for her, even with the team of doctors that she had and the wonderful nurses, and all the medications available. It was difficult to keep her comfortable. And looking back, I don't think I would have been able to give her the level of care that she needed if she was at home. I wouldn't have had the access to the various medications that they had to, have her on, and, just the expertise of these professionals knowing what to do and when to do it. So, ultimately, the hospital probably was the best place for her. It doesn't take away the guilt I have. I'm going to have this guilt for the rest of my life, I'm sure, but it does give me some comfort knowing that she was surrounded by the people who were doing everything they possibly could to keep her comfortable, and that does bring me some peace.